The rain came down in violent sheets that night, the kind of cold, punishing rain that made even the bravest souls rush indoors. But on the front steps of St. Gabriel's Hospital in Seattle, a man named Mark Collins stood drenched, trembling, and clutching a nearly empty prescription bag that he couldn't afford to refill. His worn jacket clung to him like a second skin, and his breathing came in shaky bursts as he stared at the pharmacy's closing sign. Inside that bag was the last dose of medicine his sick little girl, Ava, had taken hours earlier. Without the next dose, doctors warned her condition could spiral. And yet, no matter how many extra shifts he'd worked, no matter how many odd jobs he'd taken, Mark still came up short. That night, desperation finally pushed him to his knees outside the hospital doors, whispering a trembling prayer for a miracle. If you believe kindness, compassion, and second chances still matter in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel to support stories that remind us of hope. Inside the hospital, a woman named Sarah Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Industries, was finishing a board meeting held in the hospital's conference wing. Her company funded several medical programs, but tonight she stayed behind to review the expansion of a new child health initiative. She didn't expect to witness anything unusual. She didn't expect her life, or the life of a stranger, to collide with hers in a way she would never forget. As Sarah walked down the hallway toward the exit, her heels clicking softly against the tiles, she noticed a figure crumpled near the main doors. At first she thought it was someone seeking shelter from the storm, but then she saw the man's shoulders shaking. A small torn prescription slip lay beside him. She hesitated for a moment. After all, she had a driver waiting, deadlines pending, but something about the scene drew her closer. When she stepped into the cold air, rain immediately soaked her coat, and she saw the man look up with eyes so filled with exhaustion and fear that it stopped her in place. Mark tried to stand, wiping his face quickly as if embarrassed to be seen crying. He muttered an apology she could barely hear. His voice cracked as he explained he wasn't homeless, he wasn't begging for himself, he just needed the antibiotic his daughter's pneumonia required. Her fever had spiked again. He had already maxed out every credit option. Insurance had lapsed after he lost his full-time job at the auto shop. He had come hoping the hospital pharmacy would allow a partial payment or a hold, but they couldn't. Sarah listened silently, struck by the rawness of his words. Something in them pierced her in a way nothing in her polished boardrooms ever had. Mark wasn't dramatic, wasn't manipulative, just a father drowning in responsibility, fear, and love. She offered to walk him inside to the urgent care desk, but they were short-staffed and the pharmacy had closed minutes earlier. The only option was a 24-hour private pharmacy across town, but Mark didn't have the money for the medicine or even a working car to get there. His voice broke completely then. He confessed that when Ava had been born, her mother left after seeing the medical bills piling up. Mark had been doing everything alone ever since, and tonight he felt like he had finally failed in the worst possible way. Sarah felt something shift deeply in her chest. She couldn't explain it. Perhaps it was the way he spoke about his daughter. Perhaps it was the sincerity pouring from a man who clearly hadn't asked anyone for help in a long, long time. Without hesitating, she told him she would drive him to the pharmacy herself. The ride through the storm felt surreal to Mark. He kept staring out the window, ashamed to sit beside a woman in a tailored coat and corporate ID badge. He never imagined someone like her would even acknowledge him, much less offer help. When they arrived, Sarah paid for the full prescription before he could protest. She also bought an extra inhaler, children's vitamins, and supplies he didn't dare add to the counter. Mark's gratitude came out in a choked whisper. He told her he didn't know how to repay her. She simply told him to take care of Ava, but when she drove him home, what she discovered shook her to the core. Their apartment was in a rundown building with flickering lights and water stains along the ceiling. Inside, the heat barely worked, blankets were folded near the sofa where father and daughter slept together to stay warm, and a small humidifier sputtered on its last breath. But what caught Sarah wasn't the poverty, it was the love. Drawings made by Ava covered the walls in crayon colors, many showing her father as a superhero. On the kitchen table sat a small birthday cake Mark had baked with cheap ingredients, still half frosted because he hadn't wanted to spend money on a candle. That cake was for tomorrow. Ava would turn 6. A faint cough echoed from the bedroom. Mark rushed to her side, administering the medicine carefully. Sarah watched the gentleness in every movement, the way he brushed her hair back, whispering encouragement. Ava opened her tired eyes and smiled faintly. "Daddy, you came back." That simple sentence made Sarah swallow hard. This kid trusted her father more than anything in the world. Sarah excused herself quietly, but when she stepped outside into the rain again, tears blurred her vision. She had spent years building programs meant to help families, but somehow she had drifted so far from the people she meant to serve. Numbers, reports, performance metrics, they had overshadowed the humanity behind them. She made a decision that night. The next morning, while Mark prepared a simple breakfast birthday surprise for Ava, there was a knock at his door. He opened it to find Sarah standing there, holding a box wrapped in white ribbon. Mark immediately began apologizing again, feeling embarrassed by the state of the apartment, but she stopped him gently and asked if she could come in. She told him she hadn't been able to sleep the entire night. Something about meeting him and seeing Ava had changed her perspective. She explained that her company had a community support program, one that she had personally neglected for too long, and that she wanted to help families like his, starting with him. She offered a full medical coverage plan for Ava through their foundation, temporary financial support, and an opportunity for Mark to work as a vehicle maintenance supervisor at one of the company's facilities. It wasn't charity, she emphasized, it was a job based on his skills and experience. Mark stared at her in disbelief. The weight of years seemed to lift off his shoulders all at once. He accepted with tears streaming down his face, unable to speak. When Ava woke and came into the living room, Sarah handed her the ribbon-wrapped box, a warm birthday coat and a small stuffed lamb. The child hugged it tightly as if it were the most precious thing in the world. Over the following weeks, everything began to change. Ava's health improved steadily under proper medical supervision. Mark started his new job, proving himself hardworking and deeply grateful. The company employees admired him for his dedication, and soon he became one of the most respected figures in the maintenance department. But what moved Sarah the most was visiting the apartment to deliver documents one evening and finding it transformed. Repairs had been made, heat issues fixed by the landlord after she intervened, and Ava proudly showed off a small desk where she now drew pictures. One drawing showed Sarah standing beside their family. Underneath, Ava had written, "Thank you for helping my daddy save me." That picture stayed with Sarah in a way nothing else ever had. As months passed, the Collins family became a powerful reminder of what compassion could accomplish. Sarah expanded the company's health initiative, ensuring that families like theirs would never fall through the cracks again. Mark volunteered at community events, always sharing the same message: one act of kindness can change a life forever. And every so often, when the rain poured hard against the city windows, Sarah found herself thinking back to that night. She realized that sometimes miracles didn't come from the sky, they came from ordinary people choosing to stop, listen, and care.